Welcome in to the My Two Bits Gator Football Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ben, and I have with me my other co-host in Randy.
What's going on, people? Good to be here with you, B.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Really looking forward to giving this a shot on our inaugural episode here, if I can speak. We wanted to give everybody who's listening just a little outline of what we want to try and do, and this will be more or less what we're trying to do for all of the episodes in this series. We are going to have a slightly different agenda for this episode because it is a season preview rather than a standard week-to-week game analysis. So our mission here is to provide factual analysis of all things Florida Gator football. Our vision for the pod is to have unfiltered conversations around the product on the field, as well as recruiting and overall coaching decisions. Our analysis is always going to be based on review of film, and while we will have opinions, they should always be backed up with some kind of factual proof. We will evaluate strategies and tactics and our observations of player personnel decisions on the field as well as execution. So for this particular pod, we're going to have a slightly different agenda, as I mentioned. Our standard agenda will go through and discuss plays that we liked from the game, performance of our offense and defense. We'll do a look at the culture of the team and what we're seeing from that standpoint on the field. We're also going to take a look at recruiting in each episode if there are updates. And then finally, we'll also have a section on officiating. My co-host Randy is actually a high school football official. He's been doing that for several years, so he will provide some unique insight into that. So with that said, for this particular pod, we're going to have a slightly different agenda, as I said. The agenda will go with recruiting first for an update, and then we're going to go into the strengths and weaknesses of what we see for the 2023 team based on, what we've had to look at from practices, fall camp, spring game, all that. And then also we will take a look at a game we want to play called Keep It or Pitch It. And we'll get into a little more there, but when we get to it, but the idea is basically that we will read each data point that we've come up with to kind of talk about. A lot of them are going to be debatable topics that we think may or may not happen, or maybe takes from the national media, and we'll debate whether or not we agree or disagree on those ideas. Lastly, we're going to go through game by game for a season prediction of how each game will pan out, and we will go through and give everyone our picks on that. So with that all being said, very wordy intro there, I'm going to turn it over to Randy and let him get started on recruiting.
Awesome. Thanks, B. Appreciate that. All right. So let's get into recruiting, the state of the 2024 class. I'll tell you what. So it's been really interesting to see what's transpired this spring and this summer as the team shapes and forms and molds. It's interesting. Billy Napier's got a really unique strategy when it comes to the team, when it comes to his overall coaching mentality. And the one thing that I think I can appreciate the most from him is his level of patience. God did not bless me with that level of patience, so that's good. It's a good thing I'm not the coach. 2024 recruiting, overall, rank number 3. That is really solid to see. The overall rank is number 3. The composite rank is number 3. So that is very, very good to see so early on. Now, the other thing that I like about the 2024 class, besides, of course, our good friend, Mr. DJ Lagway, making headways, he's actually helping us recruit, right? This kid, you've seen him on social media, trying to help us recruit, talking to other players in the Texas area, trying to do what he can do. But the main thing to note out of recruiting is the defensive side of the football looks very, very stout. All right. On the cornerbacks, we've got more than 3 recruits. In the linebacker position, 3 recruits. Defensive line position, 6 recruits. So it's really interesting to see how that's coming together on the defensive side of the ball. 2 of those commits, believe it or not, right here, homegrown out of good old Gaines, Vegas. So really neat to see that come together. If anything, we've got a little bit of a stretch on the offensive side of the ball. Again, the big one is going to be DJ Lagway and everything he's going to bring. But at the end of the day, so happy to see the activity in recruiting, happy to see that overall rank. And so hopefully it's one of those things where the momentum is working, the system is working, the culture is working. And so hats off to Coach Napier for getting a rank that high so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with all your points there. I actually had some of the same in my analysis of this. Of course, the third overall class goes without saying. It's one of the best classes we've seen in a really long time. And man, is it good to see. It feels like you can breathe this sigh of relief that we're, going to have such a good class. I mean, I don't know if it'll stay 3 or not. Obviously, Bama's right there, and they're always dangerous. But I really feel like with the solidness of a lot of these commits, you go on On3 and you look, every single one of these guys is a hard commit. Literally every player. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. Like a lot of times you'll have a bunch of hards and then a few soft commits, right? So every single guy is hard committed. It's remarkable in my opinion. It really shows you what Napier's building and the culture that he's trying to implement, and that from all appearances, it's working, right? As far as at least the buy-in from the kids here. I had the same notes on defense. Just to break it down a little further with what you said, obviously 5-star safety and Xavier Filsaime. We also have 3 linebackers that are in the top 100. So yes, 3 linebackers, but they're all top 100 guys. It should be noted we're using On3 for our player rankings, as well as our composite. We feel like that's the best ranking system for us to use, just because I like how it ranks, or we like how it ranks players, even if they're over 1,000, right? Whereas 247 cuts off somewhere, I think, in the 500s, and they don't rank anymore. So that's one of the reasons we chose to use that particular service. But obviously, we use the composite for the overall class as well, as you mentioned. We also now, of course, have a top 100 corner as of this past week. Thank you, Mr. Wardell Mack. What a get that was. Total surprise. Everybody thought he was going to LSU or Texas, and we stole him. I love it. Corey Raymond is the man. All right. So those are definitely the notes on the positives. Only kind of thing, I wouldn't necessarily call it a negative. I just found it a little surprising that we don't have more running back talent. Obviously, Chauncey Bowens with the flip to Georgia. I heard they're still pursuing him. I doubt he's coming back. It seems like he's pretty committed there. I would be surprised if we flipped that one back, but you never know. I won't, you never say never with recruiting, right? But it does seem like he is probably going to UGA. So we only have, one real solid running back at the moment. Not to say we couldn't add more, but there's only one right now, which, considering how this team under Napier has showcased running backs one season in, it's a little surprising to me. However, we are also stacked there at that position, though a little less stacked now that we lost Mr. Carroll. That's just brutal. But I do think that it's not totally unexpected that maybe all the guys don't want to come here because they know they've got to fight behind one in particular guy, and that of Mr. Trevor Etienne. So it's not, like I say, totally shocking, but it is a little surprising that we don't have just a little more pull on that, for sure. So that's that. And one other point is that only 22% of the class currently is from Florida. While you did mention the 2 local guys, which I think is great, I feel like the ratio of players coming out of the state, don't get me wrong, I love recruiting nationally. It's fantastic. We're pulling talent from all over like we are. That's a wonderful thing. But let's not get too far from home. As we all know, Florida is the state, right? When it comes to recruiting, it's pretty much number 1 pretty much every year when you look at the class rankings. And so let's make sure we're not, straying too far from home on that, would be the only thought that I have there. Obviously, it's not up to me, but just what I see. So let me ask you, what needs do you think we still have?
You know what? I second your observation when it comes to the running back position, right? It seems like when you look at Napier's offense and what he wants to do, we're going to need a strong running back core. So we know we've got Johnson, we've got Etienne. We'll see what Webb does this year. It's a shame about Carroll. I agree. So based off of that, we've got to reload in some way, shape, or form, right? Outside of that, the other thing that I think is going to be crucial is, we had such a unique weapon with Pitts. And when you look at that tight end position and what it means to an offense like Napier's, but in addition to that, just what that position does in general to open up some of the passing game and some of the other things that we're going to talk about, I think that's going to be very significant as well. Outside of that, edge, going back to the defensive side of the ball, I really want to see some bigger things happen at the edge position, especially if Austin Armstrong, my nickname for him is going to be Double A. He's got a lot of energy, like a little Energizer bunny. I think he's going to need more in that position if he wants to do the schemes he wants and be as aggressive as he wants to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm right with you on especially the tight end. I love Amir Jackson. I think he looks fantastic, right? Just in the low hundreds as his overall recruiting ranking, and the 12th, they have him 12th best tight end. I could debate that, but nonetheless, I think he looks great. I think
Sure.
it looks like a real solid get there, but it's one. And this is a team that is currently starved for, at the very least, healthy tight ends. Certainly, we need them in general, but healthy would be good. So that's something where I really would like to see another one come in. However, everything I'm hearing, everything I'm seeing, it doesn't look like we're really chasing anybody else at that position. So looks like we're probably going to be set there with Amir. I am interested to see what Arlis Burlingham looks like as he gets some more playing time. They have a lot of good things coming out of camp talking about his performance in practice so far. So I'm very interested to see how he looks, even though I know he's not projected to be the starter. I think he'll definitely get some field time this year. So that's something I'm looking forward to for sure. So with that, I think we'll move on to the strengths and weaknesses of the 2023 team. We're going to do this by offense and then defense, and we're going to look at position groups for each side of the football. So starting off, obviously one for offense, got to start with the quarterback, right? Got to start with Mr. Graham. Mertz is really looking like he can do what I think we need him to do. We don't need him to make plays that, wow and pop and do all this extraordinary stuff like Richardson was capable of last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to have that. It's not necessary. If he is just solid, which I really believe he's got the opportunity to be, everything we're hearing out of camp, that he really turned a page from spring, that he's really got a better understanding, definitely a better leadership role on the team. It all really points to a situation where I think he can be a strong, strong asset for us. Now, am I going to call the overall position a strength? No, I don't know that I can say that based on what I've seen so far anyway, but I also won't call it a weakness, right? He definitely has accuracy when he's not under pressure, we know. His pre and post snap reads are fantastic. I'll take just a second for those of you who may not be familiar with pre and post snap reads. Basically, all that means is before the ball is snapped, the quarterback's going to read the defense, figure out what coverage they're in and what the best option is for where he should throw the ball. Then he's going to confirm that read post snap and make sure the defense didn't switch into something else or were disguising coverages or anything like that. And we want to make sure that obviously from there that you then make the correct throw. Also really like his ability to throw on the move. He is definitely capable, more than capable of doing that. And obviously, we have a lot of bootlegs in this offense, as we all saw last year, right? Roll out to the right, baby. So it's going to be interesting and I think good to see him be able to convert those throws, appropriately, accurately, all of those things. So I know the knock on Mertz has been when he gets under that pressure that those reads deteriorate and the accuracy goes away. But we'll talk a little more to that a little later on. But I think he's going to be strong there. What are your thoughts on QB?
You know what? I'm going to mirror a lot of what you say. I'm going to assign a grade, right? They're in college still. They still get grades, although they're not studying, sociology, right? They're studying the game of football and hopefully get drafted in the first or second round. But on that basis, strength, weakness, detriment, not necessarily. We really need him to be that game general, right? That point guard, that leader. And the thing is, we really don't need a wow, right? We just need him to control tempo. We need him to deliver, be that brain that Napier is to make that offense do what it needs to do. I give him a C. So at the end of the season, my hope is that C gets brought up to a B plus, maybe an A minus. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I understand what you're meaning regarding the pre-snap reads. I think what's interesting about Mertz is how excited he was to get the call from Coach Napier, how excited he was to look at the offense because he felt like he did not have the proper scheme, much less personnel at Wisconsin. So to know that he came down here and beat out Miller, no disrespect to Miller, but I feel like Jack missed a golden opportunity really, really prove himself and get the starting job. But, I really think Graham's going to go through a massive learning curve, and hopefully he can do it sooner than later and really put the ball where it needs to go this fall to make us as successful as we can be.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you a question. Is a C good enough to get us above 500 in the win column?
No, I you know what? Initially, I say no, but at the end of the day, when I look at all the other things that we need to do, he needs to perform at a B minus, B level in order to do that, to break this 2-year nasty streak.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think C, if he keeps C play all year, first of all, I think your grade's very fair. And I think if he keeps C play, like you said, and doesn't elevate and doesn't get at least a little bit better by the time we go through the season, that we're probably looking at around 500. I'm anticipating that he does get a little better, but we'll obviously get to that, later on here. So let's move on and talk O-line. So O-line has to be labeled a weakness at this point, in my opinion. I'm going to have to wait and see if they can recover from the losses that we've had this offseason to the NFL, but more to the transfer portal, right? It's been a little brutal. I think we can end up being fine there. We do have enough talent, I would say. The question is, are they going to gel? Are they going to play together? As we know with offensive line play, that's probably one of the most important things, is playing together as a unit, understanding everyone's assignment, not only your own, but everybody else's, right? That's super, super important in execution, especially with all the zone blocking that Napier runs, right? So again, little technical definition here. But zone blocking, meaning that you are responsible for blocking in a certain area rather than gap blocking, where you are trying to open up certain gaps in the line, whether it be A gap, B gap. And those are the gaps between the center and the guard for A, and then between the guard and the tackle for B. That is a different scheme than what Napier runs with his zone blocking. Napier's blocking scheme is actually very conducive to blocking schemes that are run in the NFL. So I would think that O-line recruiting would be a hotbed for us. Hasn't quite been so far. Decent class last year. The 2024 class could be better, quite frankly. I know we've still got a couple of guys we're targeting that are looking at us, but I would definitely like to see a little better O-line. Not to say that it's bad. I really am excited for some of the guys we have coming in there. But overall, like I say, I would have to call this a weakness until I'm proven wrong. And believe me, I want to be proven wrong, because it's going to be a huge, huge component of what we do, both on the ground and through the air.
Well, I'll tell you about. How about I prove you wrong right now?
Okay.
All I'm gonna say is everything that you said, I can't disagree with. However, my take on it is actually the opposite. So right now, I give the O-line a steady B. And here's why. When I look at the O-line and what it's got right now in store for this fall, check this out. You have Austin Barber. Okay. I apologize. Cameron Wade, 6'8", 362. Jordan Herman, 6'8", 374. Okay. Deonta Goodwin, 6'8", 358.
Well,
Three guys.
Remember, Keonta transferred back.
That's going to be a massive edit. Okay, so I'll tell you what. We have at least 2 guys that are over 6'8" and 350 pounds. So when I look at it from that perspective, I think, holy smokes, that's some size, right? When I look at everybody else on the line being 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", I feel like, given that and everything else that we're going to have in Jones and Lovett and Kearney and some of the other people coming in trying to, essentially compete for that position, I think the O-line has a lot of redeeming to do when it comes to, hey, you know what? We fell short in some of these areas last year in protection of our quarterback. Hey, guess what? We have a new quarterback. And with that new quarterback comes some uncertainty as far as how we're going to protect this guy and give him some more time than he had in Wisconsin. Yep. So from my perspective, I'm going to give them a solid B right now.
Well, fair enough. And I really hope you're right. And I hope that we do see those guys step up. And again, I absolutely think they're capable. It's not that I have to wait and see it before I'm gonna buy in. But listen, I want to buy in. I think you know that. So
Gotcha.
next up on the block, we've got running back. Really not a whole lot to say here. Rock solid, even stronger than last year when you counter in the experience of Etienne and Johnson. Would have been even stronger than that with Karros back there because, man, did he look good. But I'll tell you what, I called out Webb from the spring game in what I saw. He had some really nice cuts, looks very agile, looks like he's got the ability to be quick inside the gap and then, accelerate downfield. I like what I'm seeing from him, even as a true freshman. Obviously, we saw great things from Etienne as a true freshman last year, and hopefully we're not really going to need to see him a ton, but he'll be there to spell as needed. And I'm really excited to see that. So not much else to say there. We know it's probably the strength of the whole team, right? So, glad we have it. Glad we have it to rely on. And I think, Napier's ability to play call in the run game has also been very exceptional, and I hope to see that continue.
You are not kidding. There's not a whole lot to say about it other than the fact of it's a shame about Cam Carroll. My heart goes out to him because he looked like a human joystick, I'll be honest with you. But outside of that, my hope is that Webb and even the young man Jackson coming in, whatever they're doing, whatever water, Gatorade, right? Whatever Johnson and Etienne are drinking, I hope Webb and Jackson can pick up some of that. I hope that they study film with them. I hope that they are carrying pads for them. I just hope that they absorb and get some of that goodness. They can sop up some of that goodness that Johnson and Etienne have. It's a little bit different dynamic. Remember the back in the days of Dempson, Rainey? Obviously, a little bit more speed back then, right? Track speed.
Of course.
Right, but it's kind of you've got that kind of air like holy smokes, we have that dual-headed monster at running back again. So that actually also makes me feel really good. To go back to your other point about Graham, knowing that he's coming in with a lot of offensive weapons, so hopefully that allows him to calm his brain, keep the poise, and so he doesn't have to feel like he has to do as much, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to the point of his offensive weapons, I have written down for receiver here, wild card. This one could be really, really great. Definitely going to call it a strength based on what I know and what I've seen so far, both from spring game, both from last season with, of course, Pearsall and Caleb Douglas coming on there at the end of the year. I really think those guys are going to be outstanding starters. But man, am I excited about these freshmen. These freshman receivers we have are special. I am hearing all kinds of phenomenal stuff, reading all kinds of phenomenal stuff out of camp on Andy Jean, definitely on Trey Wilson as well. Those guys look like they could be seriously dynamic playmakers. And to your point earlier, man, do they have speed. And Mizell might be faster than both of them. So they are definitely going to be stacked here at receiver. That receiver class we took in was debatably, maybe not debatably, the best in the nation last year. We killed it on receiver class. It was one of the absolute biggest strong points of that group. And man, I am so excited to see them play. And I think we are definitely going to see at least two, maybe even all three of those guys play. Hopefully not because of injury, obviously, but I think we're going to see them anyway, regardless of that. So definitely excited. It's maybe not as strong as the running back room for sure, but man, it's definitely become a real strength. And I am really just can't wait to see where it continues to grow. Of course, I also didn't really highlight Pearsall that much. He is coming back and really looking just special. So he could really be obviously an awesome weapon as well. Probably one of the best route runners in all of college football, right? So what you got on receiver?
You are not kidding. I'm going to second that because I feel like when Ricky had the opportunity to go, old Napier pulled him over, put his hand over his shoulder, and says, "Now, Ricky, truth be told, if you come back here in the fall, we're going to do something special." And he just said, "Okay, coach." And so hopefully whatever Coach Napier said to him, is going to show up this fall because he's got all the attributes, his swag, the way he carries himself on the sideline, his IQ, his receiver IQ that's gotten only better over the summer. And now he's got a couple of young bucks that can outrun him, right? And so when you look at that, you couple that with his hand, you couple that with his route running abilities. I expect him to have a very, very big fall as long as we give Graham Mertz more than 1.8 seconds to throw the ball, and Graham can be as accurate as he can be. Because I guess one of the other things about that was the fact that it's hard to be accurate when you only throw on 3rd and long, right? So, and the defense is expecting you to throw it. So,
That's right.
really curious to see. Right. So really curious to see how this wide receiver core works out. Obviously, the speed, the Jets, that's going to be good. Graham can heave it a country mile. So it's going to be really good to see some unique plays there. I believe your phrase for the passing game was vanilla, and so hopefully we can upgrade it from a vanilla to maybe a Neapolitan.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be something that we're going to be looking for, and I'm sure everybody will hear us talk plenty about that as the season goes along. Just for a little explanation on that vanilla piece, really basic routes last year. Not a lot going on from a dynamic or creative passing attack, right? Just very plain. I'm not saying it didn't work at times, because it did, but I think a lot of teams figured that out as the season went along, and I think that's why we really struggled with consistency as we got later. Now, remains to be seen if that's a Napier thing or if that was a getting everybody adapted to the system thing. And I certainly hope it's the latter, because if it's a Napier thing, I'm afraid to say that we're probably not going to look so hot in the passing game, regardless of talent. I'm sure we may make a few more plays, but if those routes aren't there to help create separation and space and mismatches, right, which is exactly what we need in all three of those points, it's going to be a struggle no matter who you've got running those routes. I don't care how good they are, because the defense can always just double team you if they got 2 receivers out there and they know what's coming, right? So remains to be seen. We'll get off that for now, but I'm sure it's something we're going to spend plenty of time on as the season goes along, but I hope in a positive way. So with that, let's flip it over to defense. You want to take us through D-line?
Yeah, let's go D-line. Man, I know it's not the best indicator, but the spring game, did you see any blitzing? Gee, I wish they'd blitz a little bit more. No, but the pressure was really good. The B line, the B line, the D line right now, I give a solid B, because I like what Collins brings. I like James coming up there, Norman, Hill, and Jackson. I like everything that I'm seeing so far. And again, you can almost say, well, what's your determination off that, right? It's almost like kinetic energy or potential energy. I tell you what, if AA Battery over there is going to be as hyped as he is going to let the defense know they've got some things to prove based off the past couple of years, especially starting with that line, because in SEC football, we all know the way you win a game is in the trenches and you control that line. So if that D line follows instruction from AA batteries, and if they're able to get the grip and speed off the ball that they need to and follow their assignments and bust their schemes, I think it's going to be a very, very fun fall to see these guys just go loose and just play with freedom, but also play with poise and within the scheme that we need them to play.
And hopefully get some freaking pressure on the quarterback. Good grief, did we lack that last season, man? Just not enough of it at all. Way too few blitzes, to the point you were making, right? Way too much just rushing 4 and I guess hoping that was going to get home, and it didn't, unless, Cox made a play before he, was removed from the team. I don't know, man. It's very frustrating coming from last year and some of the stuff we saw with D-line, but I am with you. I have this as another definitive strength. I might even call it the second strongest position group on the team right now.
Oh, wow.
It's close. It's neck and neck between this and corner, because corner's just going to be, I think, really good, but we'll get to that in a minute. I am really with you. I think having more of that depth, those transfers, right? Banks and blanking on the other name, but both of those guys coming in look absolutely phenomenal. They look huge, and they look like they can really play the position the way they should. And of course, we still got Big Dez, baby. And I love Big Dez, man. He is fun to watch. What an absolute just special talent to be that big and still have quickness and agility to be able to get around these guys, even weighing north of 400 pounds. I mean, just unbelievable. So I've got this as a strength as well. If I were going to grade this, just for perspective, since we did that a little differently, I would have this at an A-. I think they're that good. Now, I would say it's an A-, not an A, because of the loss of Boone. Hate it.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
hated to see that happen. 2 ACLs already in fall camp, man. Brutal. I hope that's the end of it because it's not starting off great as far as injuries go. But I'll tell you, we didn't struggle with that a lot last year. I think Hawk is a great strength and conditioning coach. I think he's going to have the guys in shape and ready to play for the most part. Sometimes injuries just happen, right? You see it all over the NFL, and those strength and conditioning guys are the best in the world, right? So
Yes.
I think it's just something that happens sometimes, and unfortunately, we just got unlucky and had a couple early. But hopefully, that's the end of it, at least for anything as severe as what we've seen, right? So
Mhm.
ultimately, I'm with you. As I said, big time strength, and really looking forward to seeing what the difference looks like with some of these guys being able to get that green light, right? I know it's the front four here, so they don't technically blitz, but having some blitz coming with them, I think is going to make a huge difference. So let's shift over to linebacker. Um, I've got a little bit of indecision on linebacker still. Not willing to call it a strength just yet, but as long as Shamar James is back, which we think he's going to be, it looks like he's going to be, right? The
Yes.
little knee sprain there, but looks like he's going to be okay. It has the potential to end up being a strength. I think with looking at him and his talent, and then looking at the transfer in Mitchell from Ohio State, looks like those are going to be your starters for the first week. And I like some of the depth we have. I like that Wingo is back from injury and looking pretty good. I like that we have um, blanking Matty Nunnery, the other transfer, right?
Yeah.
He looks good as well.
Mhm.
And then we'll see if the other guys really come in and play well. We of course also have Spurlock as a transfer. Not sure how
Yep.
much time he's going to see on the field, but the point is we've got more depth. And then Scooby Williams is supposedly playing better as well from everything I'm reading. Again, it's hard to do this show the way we want to do it in full, right? Because we want to have our analysis based in fact, based in film. And we don't have a ton of film right now, right? We just don't have it. We've got a
Right.
little that we saw in spring. Maybe we've got some clips here or there from practice where it was open, but ultimately we're going off what we're reading. We're going off what we're seeing and kind of having to take the media's word for it for the moment. We'll see if that continues to be accurate or not accurate as we get into the actual season and we can, start breaking this down. So anyway, what's your thoughts on linebacker?
Right now, I'm at a B minus because when I look at our schemes in the past and that linebacker position, such a crucial position, right? Such a
Yep,
crucial position on the football
huge.
field. Everything that happened last year and the growing up of Ventrell Miller, the growing up of so many players in that position that's so crucial to the overall tone and grittiness and positioning of the team. I got him as a B, and at the end of the day right now, like you said, we'll see what happens, but if James picks up where he left off last year, okay, Wingo keeps his head on 6 inches in between the ears, and Williams, again, Scooby's got tremendous talent, tremendous speed. Can he be in the right position, right? And then Mitchell, yes, that's a great pickup, regardless of anything else that happens. Massive pickup there. So that's why I have him as a B. I'm curious to see how they set the tone. If they can complement what I think and hope and believe this D line is going to do in the trenches, then it's going to be real fun to see them cut loose.
Yeah, buddy. Good deal. So you want to get us started on corner?
Go ahead, yeah.
All right. So I have that it should be a strength based on the talent we have at the position, both retained and new, right? We got some exciting freshmen. Man, quick sidebar. There is a ton of buzz around Jakeem Jackson in camp. Holy cow. They are
Yes.
singing his friggin' praises so far. So really going to be interesting to see how he looks because I do think he's going to get some play time. I think Dejon Johnson might get some play time, right? Another excellent top 100 recruit freshman, right? Really, really, really look good. Both of those new guys coming in. But of course, we also get Jalen Timber back. We also get obviously Jason Marshall, who is without question the leader of that group. And then you also have Devin Moore, who looked exceptional last year before the injury. So really interested to see what he does. Of course, we can also look at this with the star position as well. Really interesting to see Jaden Hill transitioning to the nickel, right? So when we say the nickel or the star, this is the guy who's going to cover the slot, right? So just so everybody knows what we're talking about, it's going to be the person who will cover the slot receiver and play out of the slot position on defense, typically when you have 5 defensive backs on the field, right? So that's why they call it the star or the nickel when it's out there. Interested to see that. Also, he's going to be playing with Perkins, who Perkins at time has looked just fantastic. But then he laid a couple eggs last year that I did not expect. His previous play looked better than that, and he did not really grow the way I wanted him to. But I would say that about a lot of defenders, and I'm curious to see, was that more about Tony, or was that more about the player? And I think we'll get to find that out this year, because I don't think there's any question that Armstrong is going to have them set up in schemes and formations and, tactics the way that we would like to see them, right? Much more conducive to whatever that offense is playing, and not afraid to take some risks, for crying out loud. Good grief.
Right.
Should have called Tony Captain Conservative last year. Guy never changed anything. So, I mean, just ridiculous at times, and really, really frustrating too. So I think we're going to see a lot more stuff that we like at that position from a scheme standpoint, and that's going to let the talent shine. And I'll tell you, spring game stuff for that, again, not much film to go off. Was a spring game. We know that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I saw some promising stuff there at both corner and safety, which we'll talk about in a second. So what you got for corner there, Mr. Randy?
Yeah, as far as corner goes, that's going to be an integral role for me. So right now, don't hate me, Gator Nation, C+, right?
Oh.
Yeah, I know. When you look at what's happening, when you look at the way things have developed, my hope is that Jackson and Marshall take that position and just run with it. Run with it, be free, make plays, be in the right position. And that's the other thing too. AA, he's got some really good things going on up front side of the ball. If we pressure well, if we do the other things that we're supposed to do within our designated responsibilities, all things are good. That's going to typically yield a good result. But with a blown coverage, with a miss, it really makes the secondary have to look really, really bad. So my thing there is I'm going to take it back to a C+. Like I said, my hope is that gets revamped 2-3 games into the season. But right now, I think that's a huge opportunity for us.
Yeah, so I can't totally disagree with you there. Again, kind of like our little difference of opinion there when it came to the O-line, right? I see where you're coming from. Again, I can't argue your points. Heck, if you look historically, we should be giving them a D, right? They've been terrible. There's just no way around it. They've been bad almost across the board. Maybe a slight improvement in some technique stuff last year as far as off coverage goes and things of that nature. But like I said, I'm going to hope that last year they got some good coaching. Obviously, Corey Raymond's back there. The guy is the best. There's really no doubt about it. And I love, for the record, that he is now coaching both the corners and the safeties, whereas last year he was corners only, right? So now we've got our back four with communication, right? Which is really, really, really important when we look at this, right? So I think having a unified front in coaching is going to help that for both of those positions. And I hope that we see, coverage that is improved because of it. And I think we will. But I can't fault you. Because, again, if you look back and look at what proof we have to go on, it ain't great. So no real arguments for me like I said, can't really debate any of your points. So what do you think about safety? Where you got our safeties at?
Safeties are going to be at believe it or not, the same thing. C+.
It's fair.
C+. When you look, okay, I'm just going to put in terms of SEC football, where you make your money, right? And I get it. There's a lot of talent in the SEC. There's a lot of speed and this, that, and the other. But when I look at that safety position, it's an impact. At years past in Florida, that was a unique position that so many Florida greats played so well that made such a difference and set the tone when the line maybe was struggling, when, we need to pick up here, or we had a player go down, or whatever the case might be. And it just seems like in the past couple of years, again, third and Grantham, whatever you want to call it, Tony, was it scheme? Was it coaching? With that presence wasn't there. That impact wasn't there. There's lots of proof.
Agreed. And I'm with you on this one. We don't differ here. I have this as a weakness until I'm proven wrong. Right? This is something that I am not high on at the moment. I'm also not loving the fact that we may have a true freshman starting for us at safety, because I guess that's not really going to happen to start the season, but it really could later, because apparently RJ Moten, he looks good, right? The transfer from Michigan really got a good one there from the looks of it and what we're hearing again and seeing. But nobody's saying anything particularly special about Mitchell or Kamari. And Kamari is a disappointment so far, for sure. This guy was super highly ranked, 7th overall, and best safety on the board, depending on which class ranking. And I don't remember if that was 247 or On Three that had him that high. But regardless, somebody did, right? Somebody had him as the best friggin' safety in the 2022 class. And he ain't looking like it so far. That's all I have to say. Again, maybe we'll see as Corey gets, more involved and continues to work with him, he can live up to some of that potential. I would sure love to see it. But I'm hearing about our new freshman coming in from the 23 class and possibly getting some significant playing time, which it's great. I'm glad we have more depth, right? This is a good thing. I'm glad we don't have Trey Dean. No offense, Trey, but man, that was tough to watch for a long time. As far as coverage goes, great tackler. Give him all the credit in the world for being a great tackler, but holy cow, the coverage was rough. As I think anybody who's watched even some Gator football will know. And for the record, I think it's important that we say anything that we say or talk about with a player, it's only reflective of the play that we see, right? That's a really important thing to mention. Because we would never want to make anything personal against. It doesn't mean they're a bad person or anything like that. And I think that's really important to note. So at the end of the day, I've definitely got it as a weakness as well. I don't see the promise there that I do at corner. However, I hope I'm proven wrong. And I am excited about some of the stuff that Moten's been showing so far, and hopefully that will continue to produce. So with that, let's transition over to special teams. Start with kicking. It's a weakness. It just is, right? It was not good last year. 66% make rate for Mahalik. Trey Smack might have even kicked a couple as well, but they're saying Mahalik's going to get the starting job again. It's got to get better, period. It just has to be better. There's just no way around it. On the opposite side of things, looking at punting, Crawshaw is a monster, right? Really looks great. Really seems to be the real deal, and I think he's only going to get better. Now, I don't know if he'll get Tommy Townsend better, but I think he's going to get better. So, man, I miss watching Tommy. I used to watch that guy just punt in warm-ups and just drop every ball inside the two. And it was just unbelievable. He is something special. But regardless, obviously we don't have him anymore. But I like Crawshaw. I think he's good. And then just to round it out for me, just because these are quick, returners. I think we could have a real strength here, whether it's ETN, though that makes me very nervous. I'm not going to lie. I don't like one of our starting running backs returning kicks, but he is dynamic. I can't argue that. Just please don't get hurt. I also love the addition of Trey Wilson to the return game, though. They're already talking about him being possibly the punt returner, at least on a somewhat regular basis. And man, that kid looks dynamic, big time. Whoa, he looks special. I'm really excited to see what his capabilities are in game situations. I think he could break a lot of ankles. So that's my analysis on the special team side. What do you got there?
You know, I'm not that far off with you. The only thing that I have in mind is a particular number that I'll say for Mr. Mahalik is 431. 431 consecutive games the University of Florida has scored a point or three. He extended that streak.
Great point.
Right? So, dude, that was such a painful game to watch, right? It's like, offense, holy smokes, what can I buy a vowel? Can I phone a friend? Somebody, anybody. So can Can Adam take that into this fall and go, you know what? I extended our scoring streak, right? Can that happen? Because I'll be honest with you, seeing some games last fall, him standing over the ball, it was not exactly confident. I could be wrong. Looking at
I
his eye,
agree.
looking at the body language, the shoulders, the slouch. My 2 cents, it seems like B agrees, but at the end of the day, hopefully that's going to give him some confidence to come back this fall, extend the leg, go from there, right? And kicking up. Okay, but again, Gator Nation, bear with me. You guys might think I'm a Russian judge here. No disrespect, but C minus on the kicking side. C minus on the kicking side. I think there's a lot to prove there, right? Crawshaw, I have no qualms with you on Crawshaw, right? As far as what he averaged, hell, he almost had a 70-yard kick last year, right? So that's going to be great. If he can maintain over 50 yards a punt average, if he can pin people inside the 20, inside the 10, do it in a great way, that's going to be fine. I have no qualms there. As far as on the returning side, oof, you want to make sure typically you got some speed. It's not like we have Brandon Powell again, but it's going to be hard when you see a key offensive piece also be your kick returner. And so you might cringe a little bit. You might, get one of those. But either way, my hope is some of those things are going to be really good for the special teams, because in general, it just seems like special teams has not been so special and kind of lackluster. So there we go.
Couldn't agree more. I think we're very much in lockstep on that one, as we typically are, though not always, but definitely tend to agree on most things, and I think we're right with one another on that one from the sounds of it. So with that will wrap up our 2023 strengths and weaknesses. Little bit of a lengthy segment there, but I think it's good to go through and really take an analysis of everything that we're seeing and hearing early on, and then see how that plays out and see if we're right, which hopefully we are, but hopefully we're not right in some ways, but
Right.
but yeah, just to see how that goes through. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, and let's get started on some Keep It or Pitch It, shall we?
All right. So keep it. I'm really excited for this segment, just because the topics in general. Okay. So let's start off Keep It and Pitch It with Mr. Mertz, the new mayor of Gainesville. So check this out, B. Graham Mertz will be mediocre, sub 63% completion rate, and 10 or more picks, right? Meaning at the QB position. So therefore, we will be forced to produce with rush offense and other weapons. Keep it or pitch it.
So I love this, right? Because this has been the take, right? This has been the media take, is that Mertz is not that good. Napier messed up. He didn't transfer the right guy, right? He picked poorly. I have a lot of trouble believing that. I have a lot of trouble believing that Napier is going to put the time and effort that he seemingly puts into everything he does in life into this process of finding a transfer quarterback, because we needed one. Because let's call a spade. Jack Miller, he's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but man, he's not the best either, right? He's got a long way to grow still, and now unfortunately he's injured as well again, right? We got some tendonitis going on, so all the more reason why this was such an important pick. And man, did he get dogged for it. Literally everybody, Gator Nation, the media, it didn't matter. Everybody was like, Graham who? Right? Yeah, he used to be a 5-star, but man, he hadn't looked like a 5-star, right? So
Right.
I'm really, really interested to see. So going back to the statement you made that he'll be mediocre. Again, we put some specific metrics behind this: sub 63% completion and 10 or more picks. I'm pitching that, man. I'm pitching that, and we should note the Keep It or Pitch It here, designed to play off the option formation. For those of you who are familiar, this is where the quarterback runs out, has a back that he can choose to pitch it to, or he can keep the ball and run it, right? So that's the idea behind this game. And I'm pitching this. I think Graham is going to have better numbers than that. I think Graham is going to make good reads most of the time. Again, may not be all the time. Nobody's perfect, but I think he is going to be solid. He won't wow you, like we said earlier. I don't think. It'd be great if he did, but I don't think he's going to wow us. But I think he is going to be a workhorse, and maybe more important than anything, I just have this nagging feeling that he's going to be consistent. And as great as Richardson was last year, as much as we love AR and really want him to succeed, and you and I have talked so much about that, and we love the kid. Think he went pro too early, but we love the kid and wish him nothing but the best. But man, consistency was not a thing, as we are all well aware, right? Oh, did we ride a roller coaster with that mess? And I'm just really, thinking that Mertz, because of his experience, because of his game understanding, because of his leadership and knowledge of the offense, and because of the confidence he seems to have in getting to an offense that does suit him better than Wisconsin did, I think we're going to see a very high level of consistency from Mertz. And if we get that, we might be better than a lot of people think. Where are you at with it? You keeping it or pitching it?
No, I'm going to pitch it. We talk about him being a game manager, right? You talk and speaking of the roller coaster with AR last year, great kid, obviously, no disrespect to that. I'm still a bit nauseated, from the ups and downs and lefts and rights of fall of 22. I'm still getting over all that, and obviously we want nothing but the best for him and his camp up there in Indianapolis. But if Graham, and I tell you what, just hearing the things that Napier had to say, hearing the things that Paul Chryst had to say about Graham Mertz to Napier, hearing the things that Graham Mertz's high school coach, because you're right. Napier did a lot of research, right, before making the offer. And so when you look at all those things combined, and again, strong running back core, got a weapon or two at wide receiver, got some speed. Graham, we don't need you to be Superman. Not at all. You might need to go to the telephone booth. But that's the thing. You might need to go in the telephone booth and change every now and again. But can you manage, and can you be consistent? I tell you what, B, it's almost like investing, right? Compounding consistency. Sometimes it's great to get a 15% return, but then you might back it up with a -2 and then a +8 and then a -14 and then a 5. But if every year you're just getting 6 and 7 and 6 and 9 and 7 and 8, and it does a wonders for your overall return. So if Graham Mertz can do that, that would be great. So that's why I'm going to pitch that topic.
I'm with you there. Super Graham, if you will. Right.
Hey.
And thanks for the little financial analysis there. I like that breakdown.
You got it.
So switching gears, I think we're on, definitely agreed on that one. And I'm with you. I'm really looking forward to seeing him. I think he's going to be really a bright spot. So we'll see if that comes true or not. But fingers crossed. It looks good so far. So topic number 2. At some point throughout the season, we will have at least 5 freshmen starting on any side of the ball, right? So will we be able to have that many freshmen, or will we want to have that many freshmen? And this is, for the record, not assuming injury. I should put that out there. This is not based on necessity. This is based on them being that good that they won the job, right? So where are you at on that? Keep it or pitch it?
I'm going to pitch it. Here's why. Is it unique to have 5 freshmen on the field? Yeah, tell that to Michigan and the Fab Five. But that aside, Napier's, this is his second year. He's going into his second fall. A lot of weight on the shoulders, right? He's still got a gorilla. It's probably more than 1,000 pounds, probably 2,000 or 3,000 pounds. So based off of that, when you see the other depth that we have at the positions that we have and everything else happening, the schemes happening, the flow, the culture, like you said, bearing no injuries, I don't think we can see 5 freshmen on the field. I don't think it's going to make sense, because if he is concerned about, because I tell you what, I'm going to back up. One of the interesting things that Napier said about Johnson was when he first got him, great kid, got vision, he's got some speed, got some cutting ability. And he said, man, if I can just work with that kid a little bit more. And it wasn't his first season, but his third season, boom. He all of a sudden really, really took to that position. And so I think Napier, seeing him and seeing how he was able to excel in his first year at Florida in the SEC with different speed, with different defenses, I think to put a freshman out there, especially in the SEC, you got to be really dadgum good. And no disrespect to our guys, we don't have anyone really, really, really that dadgum good that can go out there and compete right away at that level, much less 5 of them. So that's why I think we're not going to be able to see 5 on the field. Can't see 5 on the field on freshmen. They need more time to develop. Now, if we were able to take some away from, the Sith Lord, aka Nick Saban, get some 5 stars over here, whatever the case might be, maybe, but we're just not there yet.
Interesting take. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep this. And again, it's not just, so first of all, I don't think there's any doubt we see 5 freshmen on the field at some point this year. When you look at the talent we have at corner, at safety, at receiver, as we've already mentioned, at D-line, TJ Searcy, Kelby Collins. Ooh-wee. Kelby Collins look nasty. I'm just saying. Anyway, when you look at that, I don't think there's any doubt we see 5 freshmen play. But again, the question is, will they start? Now, I'll tell you, it might be a stretch. But I think that the talent, one, that Napier has recruited, because maybe we didn't have the 5 stars, but man, what about that blue chip ratio? We sure had an awful lot of good 4 stars, buddy. And I think because of that, we do have the talent. And unfortunately, some of the upperclassmen are just not as talented. We know what we know about Dan. X's and O's were great for Mullen. Recruiting was not, right? And we're seeing the evidence of that in the last couple of years as the play on the field has declined, right? There's just to an extent, sometimes talent is talent, and our talent hasn't been there. It's just what it comes down to. So, and it's no insult to the guys that he did recruit. There's been some great guys. There are some special guys there, right, that he's gotten. I mean, he recruited Pitts, for crying out loud. It's not to say that they're all that, but I think actually he didn't recruit Pitts. I'm wrong. That was McElwain. Whoops. Anyway, but regardless, sorry, Dan, tried to throw you a bone. But regardless, when we look at it, I think we have the talent to have that happen, and I think we have the talent to make them win out to get those starting jobs again without industry. Now, maybe 5's a stretch. Maybe it only ends up being 3 or maybe 4. But I think you're going to see freshmen start this year, true freshmen, that is, right? We're not talking red shirts here. I should have put that, but no red shirt freshmen. I think it's going to happen. We'll see. Frankly, I hope you're right. I love where your head's at with the coaching and development of players. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Really great point, and I hope you're right. So we'll see what happens. You want to take the next? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I hope I am too. I don't want to owe you $20. Okay, so let's go to keep our pitch at point number 3. Total passing yards per game will increase by 30% over last year. This production will come from better passing concepts and receiver play. What have you?
Love this one. Love it. This is a great ad by you here to throw this in here. Obviously, hot button topic for me when it comes to the passing concepts, but also the receiver play. So I'm going to tell you, I have it as a pitch it, but it's a real short pitch. That back's about a yard away.
That's real short.
Yeah, it is not a long pitch here. I could very well see this happening. I absolutely think it's going to get better, but putting out that 30% number and putting out that part of that is going to come from passing concepts getting better. I love it if it does, but you're going to have to show me before I buy it. And right now I'm keeping it with just a baby pitch it on that. So but again, it's small. It could happen. It could happen. That receiver talent is no joke, as we have already detailed more than once. So we'll see. But it's got a shot. But I don't think it's quite going to go up that much. But again, I do think it will get better. So that is something that I'm looking forward to. What do you got for this one?
Wow. A baby pitch, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. That's actually pretty. I see where you're going with it. Well, I'll tell you what. The reason why I put that in there is because I think I'm absolutely going to keep it. I'm absolutely going to keep
Wow. Bold.
it. Absolutely. Right. When I look at Pearsall again, this is all predicated upon Napier putting his arm around him and whispering. Right. When I look at his production at Arizona State, a couple of years ago, just sub 600 yards. His production last year at Florida, 660, 670 yards. I'm going to make a bold prediction, Gator Nation. Pearsall goes off for 900 yards this fall.
Let's go.
900 receiving yards. That's the number, plus or minus 10%, whatever. 900, sticking to it. Good night, game over, drive home safely. No, actually, no, just kidding. We got to go to topic number 4, but
I like it. I love the confidence, and I hope you're right. And I'll gladly be wrong on this one and pay you that 20 right back.
Aha.
All right. So next one, number 4, the kicking game. As we have already so well detailed, our kicking game and specifically field goals was not great. We need to see an improvement there. And the topic for this is that the kicking game will be improved from the 22 season. Field goal percentage will be at least 85% make.
Yeah.
Now, that may seem a little high, but it's really not that far off the median for what most, top level Power 5 programs do, right? These kickers have gotten a lot better. And they're just a lot more accurate. Now, obviously, there could be some things if we're kicking a lot of longer field goals that could wrinkle this stat a little bit. But I think when we look at overall, we really should see an improvement there. I will give a little anecdote that I did see that Mahalik is averaging 90% so far in fall camp. Was pleased to see that. Now, I don't know if that's guarded or not, but nonetheless, he also said he was making them from 65. Whoa. We'll see if those statements come true, but that's what I read the other day, so we'll see. And then on the punting side of the ball, average 50 yards per punt at a minimum. Now, this is barely up from last year. It was 49.2, I think you told me, as his average from last year, something right in that neighborhood for Crawshaw. So getting over 50, really not much of a hurdle. However, we just feel that it is the important mark, right? You want to average that 50 yards a punt if you're really an elite punter, and I think he is. So having said those topics, where you at? Keep it or pitch it on the kicking game getting better.
I'm keeping it. A lot to prove. Good momentum. Now, if he's making field goals from 65, I hope it's not in the practice, the indoor facility. I hope it's outside. If that's the case, I also caught a 27-inch red last week. No, but really and truly, I'm gonna keep it because with the energy, with the culture, with everything else changing, shifting, moving, turning, these guys can't not feed off of that, right? And that's the other thing too. Crawshaw is close to 50 as it is. So based off of that, he gets into the gym this past spring and summer. The leg, he's able to push it, put another 15, 20 pounds of weight on, and boom, he's at 52 yards a punt, right? So that's going to be phenomenal. And that's the other thing too. I'm hoping for Mahalik is that he gets his confidence underneath him. Hopefully he and Trey Smack can work on whatever he needs to work on 6 inches between the ears for the other stuff on his body language and tone. But my hope is if he can be somewhere around 88 or 90%, I feel like it's going to there's going to be 2 games this fall that we're going to need him to produce.
Which 2? Or are you just saying that in general?
In general.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So I'm actually with you here. I'm keeping this as well. I think this is going to get better. I love the point that you made earlier. I didn't get to really comment on it, but I should have. What a good point about keeping our scoring streak alive. That kick must have been loaded with pressure, and he made it. And he made it coming off a very subpar season, as we've discussed. He made a huge pressure kick, right? That's really a big one, even though the game was over. That was a big deal, regardless. So I'm with you. I think we're going to see the improvement here. It looks like he's really been solid as far as the accuracy goes so far, as stated. So I'm thinking we're going to do it. And Crawshaw, I mean, heck, he only needs to go up a yard. I think he's got it. So definitely keeping that one.
Yep.
So what do we got for number 5 on this one?
All right, B, keeping a pitch at number 5. Offense will finish the season ranked lower than they were last year. And just a side note, the team did rank 58th in total offense in fall of 22.
So I am going to probably get beaten in the head for this one, but I'm keeping this. Now, I'm only keeping this because I think we are going to be a little less dynamic as far as our ability to have a running quarterback, right? That really made a big difference in a run predicated offense to have a secondary threat to break it open, take it to the house. As we all know, Richardson was more than capable. That really helps a team that is predicated on running the football, which we, of course, are. We're not going to have that again. Mertz seems plenty mobile. He seems plenty agile. He's not Drew Bledsoe back there. We're not looking at cement shoes. But
oh boy.
Or even our boy Kyle, a little less than mobile. But that being Kyle Trask, just so we're clear. But I do think that because of that, even though I think the passing game will get better, running game's not going to be as dynamic as it was. It'll still be good, but it won't be as dynamic as it was. And for the record, I could see this. I said that I'm pitching it because that I'm keeping it because I do think it will rank lower, but like 1 or 2 spots. We're basically going to stay the same. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's the most realistic take at this point in time, even despite all the stuff that we are excited about and seeing. And hey, let's be honest. We didn't have a terrible offense last year. It was inconsistent, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad at all. It was the defense that struggled. We'll get to that in a second. So that's my take. I'm going to keep this one. What do you got?
Man, looks like I just made me an easy $20. I'm keeping it, baby.
You're keeping that they're going to go lower?
Oh, I apologize. Sorry. I was just so focused on getting $20 from you. I'm going to pitch it. I'm definitely going to pitch that one, man, because listen, at the end of the day, AR, the abilities, and here's the thing. Yes, we have wide receivers. Yes, we have tight ends. Yes, we have an O-line. Yes, we have amazing running back core. But at the end of the day, the quarterback position arguably is the hardest position to play on that field. The expectations, the pressure, everything that comes with it, right? So, having that been said, if Graham Mertz can come in and be that general, that floor general that we need, that field general that we need, and keep his head about him, keep the concepts in play, just deliver the ball where it needs to go. Nothing spectacular. I don't need to see you do a jump pass, Graham. I really don't. I just need you to roll out and do your check downs, go read your progressions, and deliver the ball where it needs to be. I don't see why we could not finish the season in the 40s.
Whoa,
so based off of that, I know it's a big jump, but that's the thing. Maybe I'm going into it too optimistic, but I don't care.
He says top 50. He says inside the top 50 for offense. Interesting. So this leads into our next point. Now this one's a little tricky, right?
Yeah.
So the defense will be better than the offense in overall ranking. So what are we saying here? Well, first off, defense was ranked 87th last year, a smoldering 87th. Man, was that hard to watch. So what we're saying is that this team will actually improve enough that it passes the offense. So this is an even trickier one for you because you just put the offense in the 40s. So is the defense going to get into either the low 40s or even the high 30s? That's a big jump. We'll see. What do you got? Keeping it or pitching this, that it'll finish higher?
It is a big jump. I'm going to keep it. So let's say, for example, the offense gets into the high 40s. They're at 48, 49, right? And the defense gets that much better. They're running on AA batteries because he's just kicking their tail and getting them amped and getting them. Like I listened to a speech of his. I just listened to him for maybe 5 seconds, and I wanted to run through a brick wall. I never considered running through a brick wall in my life, but I did for AA. And let's just say defense, gets down to 46, 45, 44. If he is as aggressive as what we saw in the spring game, I don't know, the spring game is no indicator, just with the schemes, with the energy and the activity, you got these kids with the talent flying around all over the place, playing free, disciplined, but free. We'll be in the mid 40s, mid to high 40s. Yes.
Wow. It's a strong statement, but you have to be mid 40s to beat your offensive prediction. So,
And that's fine.
I'll tell you what. Now, I didn't have the offense as high as we've just stated. So I'm keeping this one as well. I'm keeping it and taking it to the house, buddy. We're making a cut, putting the foot in the ground, and we're taking it all the way in for the 6.
Mm.
This is going to happen. Armstrong, AA battery, as you like to call him, which I love, is the real deal from everything that I can see. He seems to understand the combination of scheme and aggression that you need to have in the modern world of defensive football, right? If we get the execution out of the players that I think he's capable, and also his coordinators are capable, right? Love Sean Spencer on the D-line. Love Jaluk's a running backs coach. I can't remember a linebackers coach right now, but I know Armstrong is coaching the linebackers a lot because that's his forte. And then, of course, Corey Raymond. I think you get everybody on the same page here, and you really put in some stuff that's a little different, a little more aggressive than what we've seen, as we've said, more than a little more, probably. I think we're really going to have a great opportunity to see a defense that finally comes back to the level that we expect at Florida. It's funny. We talk about Florida all the time, and the national media narrative on Florida is always offense, 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 right? Fun and gun, baby. Spurrier made us great in that. But, it doesn't get talked about. Some of those defensive teams on our old Bobby Stoops, man, those guys were special. They were really good. They were really, really good. And then, of course, even more so possibly under Urban, right? And Charlie Strong's set up, right? And those guys, man, you had some special defensive players out there. Brandon Seiler, Brandon Spikes, man, just some incredible linebackers, some incredible O-line play. Guys that are still in the friggin' league. I mean, Jefferson's still in the league. He's been in the league for like ever, Right. So I'm really excited to see the defense come back and regain some of what I feel is our historic greatness at that position. Again, it doesn't get talked about, but I think we've got a real chance to do it this year. So with that, we'll move on to the next one here, which is the last one for Keep It or Pitch It. And that is the very controversial topic of Vegas and our projected record. So Florida will not cover their preseason DraftKings prediction of winning 5.5 games. So in other words, we're taking the under, right? So 5 games or less is the prediction here. Are we keeping that or are we pitching that, buddy?
Pitch it.
Yeah.
We're pitching. I cannot, Gator Nation, hear me out. I just can't. I know things look bleak. I know the past couple of years have not been what we wanted to be. I know the past more than a couple of years has not been what we wanted to be, right? I know that the dynasty that had been in the 90s and early 2000s and then mid 2000s and getting up to 2010, it seems like we ran into a bit of a buzzsaw. I get that. But No way in Sam Hill am I going to keep that prediction, 5.5 games. Not going to do it. Not one bit.
Not going to do it. Wouldn't be prudent.
Not prudent at all.
No, I'm right there with you, man. My notes here are I'm pitching this so hard the back falls down when he catches it.
Oh man.
This is not happening. We are not winning less than 6 games. I cannot see a world where this happens. I mean, again, now it should be stated 2 things. One, this is barring any catastrophic injury stuff, right? You're going to have some throughout the season, but anything that's really detrimental to the team, right? That we lose a ton of guys at a key position or something like that, right? That goes without saying. This is assuming that we have a more or less normal, quote unquote, year from the standpoint of injury. And then also it should be noted that we are playing the hardest Power 5 schedule of any major conference team in the country, according to ESPN's FPI. We have 6 preseason top 25 opponents and 4 top 15 opponents. So this schedule is no joke. It is hard. Not as hard as 2024's. We'll get to that another time. Good Lord. That schedule is ridiculous. But it is definitely a very, very difficult schedule. And it is going to be really important that we do execute at the level on everything that we've talked about, that we see Napier's culture continue to grow and his coaching and the progressions that he's wanted to instill as he goes along continue to grow, right? These are the things that are going to happen for this to occur because it is a hard schedule. But I've been seeing 3-9, 4-8. Get out of here. This team is better than that. This team is better than that. The opponents we're playing are not all that hard. Some of them certainly are, but not all of them. And I think we'll both see why we pitched that one pretty hard when we get to our next segment here, which is our season predictions. So let's move on to that and get to the last segment we have for our show here. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go game by game, just give our take on what the outcome will be and a brief description of why, because we don't want to keep you too much longer, but we do want to give you a little insight on why we picked what we picked. So let's get it started off. 10 days from today. Thank you. 10 days. Oh, can't wait. We are going to Utah. We are going to play a very difficult opening game. There's no question. Hostile atmosphere. Pac-12 defending champions 2 years running, please. Though the Pac-12 champion doesn't mean much anymore with all that conference realignment, but we'll leave that alone. It wasn't last year, right? So this was a big deal. Beat the Heisman Trophy winner, I think twice. I think they beat USC twice. Which is pretty impressive stuff, right? This team is no joke. Kyle Whittingham is a very, very good coach. Yes. The question mark here is Cam Rising and whether or not he's going to be healthy. I think he's going to play from everything that I'm seeing, from what I'm hearing. But I can't believe that he's going to be as mobile as he can normally be. So, Randy, I'm going to surprise you with my pick here because we've talked about this game multiple times already, and I told you I had it as a loss. I have it as a close win.
Wow.
I've got us winning this game. I think we're going to go in there. If you look at historical stuff from Pac-12 SEC matchups over the years, we just dominate that conference year in and year out. We just kick their butt. I don't know if it's the speed. I don't know what it is. I know Utah is a decent team. They're more than a decent team. They're a very good team. But I think we're going to come in here, and I think we're going to give them a little shock and awe. I think we have the ability to improve on defense enough and score enough offensively to take this one home. I think we're going to have a little shock the world to start the season, kind of like we did last year, a little different because we were at home. This one probably be a little more of a shocking upset, but that's where I'm at. Close win. What you got?
Man, I commend you for that. This one's tough for me because I look at last year's game and two plays stick out to me in particular with last year's game. The first is Richardson's escape right to the pocket, 360 spin, finds Pearsall corner of the end zone.
That play was ridiculous.
It was. And the second play, old man, Amari Burney, 6th-year senior, interception to seal the game.
Of course.
If those two things don't happen, we don't win. So on that basis, knowing and I agree with you. Whittingham's a great coach. He knows the system. It's going to be loud. Those Utah Utes are loud. They were loud in the swamp, the little presence that they had. So I have us taking a very tough, close loss the season opener.
Wow, you flipped it on me too. You were saying, oh, wow, I can't believe it. That's funny. That's funny. So yeah. Just to give a little backstory here, we've talked about this game probably 15 times already, and Randy kept having it as a win, close win, but a win nonetheless, and I kept having it as a close loss. That's really funny, man. We both flipped at the last minute. We'll see what happens next week. Really looking forward to that. But with that, let's move on to McNeese. What you got there with those McNeese boys coming to town for our home opener?
I'm going to say win, and the only reason why I say that is it's a mantra that Nick Saban used to tell his team back in the days. Win the games you're supposed to win. End of story.
That's a great point. You know, I'll throw just a quick anecdote here. The one thing about Dan Mullen was, up until his last season, obviously, and the wheels fell off, but up until then, Dan Mullen's rep was he never lost a game he wasn't supposed to lose. Right. He didn't necessarily win the games that were big. But, man, he didn't lose those games that were small. I don't know that we know. In fact, I'm going to say we don't know if Napier has that, instilled in his program yet. I'll tell you, I love the fight in this team. I love that we never gave up in any game last year. I'm really excited to see how that continues with this culture that he's building. That part was probably the most promising of anything I saw. But we did lose some games we were supposed to win last year, a couple of them. And that's just not going to work. I'm with you here. Win the games you're supposed to win. This one, I mean, it should be a pretty easy win. This should be a pretty good tune-up, blowout, all that fun stuff. As long as everything doesn't go completely haywire, which I don't think it will. So I'm right with you there. Moving on, Tennessee. Man, have I gone back and forth with this. So interesting stat, the FPI, ESPN's FPI, Football Power Index is what that stands for, by the way, has us actually slightly favored, like 50.3% to win this game. So it is as coin flippy games get, right? I've got this as a close loss. I went back and forth on this so many times. I will say this, history is on our side. Tennessee has not won in Florida in 20 years, but Kentucky hadn't won at Florida home or away in 31, and that streak ended a while back, as we all know. Man, did that hurt. I'm still dreading the Kentucky thing, and we'll get to that game in a minute here. But I've got this as a close loss. I think it will be a great game. I think this will be a dogfight. These teams are really going to be interesting to see play one another because of the offensive dynamics, and then also Florida's defensive new dynamic, which I think we'll have against this great Tennessee spread, right? And Josh Heupel. But I think they pull it out in the end. I think they do. I'm not happy about it, but I think they do. What do you got?
Right there with you. Last fall, that was a classic game, man. It was so close. We're a possession away from winning that game. Played his heart out. AR, one of the signature games last year that we came so close to that massive upset. But at the end of the day, the way that Heupel has his team going, and Joe Milton, people don't realize this, but Joe Milton, his arm is almost as strong as AR's. His stature at 6'5", 242 pounds, he looks like AR's stature. A lot of athleticism. Unfortunately, the loss is going to be as close for me. It's going to be a loss nonetheless.
I hear you. I'm sad to say it, and I hope we're wrong, but time will tell.
Yep.
Back to Charlotte. Again, continuing the 3-game home stretch we're on here. What do you got for Charlotte?
For Charlotte, I've got our acronym, WTGYSTW. Win the game you're supposed to win.
Yep, I'm right with you there. Really not a whole lot that has to be said here. I think it should be a pretty easy cover, though. Actually, interestingly enough, McNeese is the way higher favorite for us to win than this game is. We're in the 80s with this game. We're in the high 90s with McNeese. So must be a little talent gap there between those two that I don't really know one way or another. But having said that, I think it'll still be an easy win. So I'm right with you there. And now at Kentucky. Buddy, we better win this game. A lot of people are predicting us not to win this game. A lot of people are saying Kentucky has our number now, which to me is laughable. To think that Kentucky has Florida's number. I guess the previous, 31 years prior to the last 5 don't mean anything. Give me a break. Has our number. Yeah. I think we got to win this football game, and I think we're going to win this football game. And I actually don't think it's going to be that close. I don't even have this as a coin flip. I've got this as a solid win. I think this team is angry that they have lost to Kentucky as much as they have in recent years, whether it's guys that have been there or haven't. I think they are going to be up for this game. We're going to come off a nice tune-up win with Charlotte coming in. I've got us winning this one handily. Maybe it's just positive thinking. Maybe it's some bias in there. I don't know, because I'll be furious if we lose to Kentucky again. But I really don't think we're going to. I think this team is better than Kentucky this year, and I've got this as a W. What do you got?
W all the way. Kentucky's a basketball school. I get it, Mark Stoops. You've done a good job. You've gotten the people back. You've got some mojo. The stadium looks great. You just added a third deck, whatever the heck you want to call it. But no way. We are ticked. No way in Hades is Kentucky gaining any kind of ground on Florida football.
I agree. The game. Yeah. I know they got some good receivers, but I think our secondary play improvement is going to shut that down. So I'm excited to see that game, because I'm ready for a redemption victory at Big Blue. All right, Vandy back at home. Vandy. The unbelievable upset from last year shocked the world. What do you got us with on Vandy this year?
I want the score at Vanderbilt to be like the old school Spurrier Fun and Gun 1997. I want it to be 54-6.
Yeah, buddy.
Clear win.
Yeah, clear win here for me too. Let's show them that we are better because we are. The talent gap is enormous in this game. When you look at recruiting composite for each team, I still can't figure out how the heck we lost that game last year. It just doesn't make any sense. It just goes back to some of that really inconsistent play. And I will give Vandy one piece of credit. They sold out against the run. They made Richardson beat us, and he didn't. Or made Richardson beat them, excuse me, and he didn't do it. And that's what it comes out to. They shut our run game down. I still don't really know how they shut our run game down, but they did nonetheless. Maybe we had some execution stuff that wasn't the best, and I'll concur that we didn't. But they played their butts off, and I'm not going to say they didn't deserve the win because they did. They played well enough to win the game, but man, we really dropped the ball on that one. So I don't see that happening again. I'm right there with you. Easy win.
Bingo.
At South Carolina. Now, last year, a lot of people have us picking to lose this game this year. I'll tell you that right now. That's been a popular pick as a loss at South Carolina because, South Carolina's going to be way better, and Spencer Rattler's coming to his own now, and he's got it all figured out. People pump the brakes. It was 2 games, and let's not forget, we beat the pants off them. You know how there are some times where teams just match up well with other teams, where coaches match up well against other coaches? See Brian Kelly versus us last year.
Mm-hmm.
That is just something that I think is happening with Beamer and Florida right now. I don't think South Carolina can beat us. Now, it's at South Carolina. It's a hostile environment. More cowbell, please, right? But I'll tell you right now, I don't think they're going to get it done. I think it'll be a lot closer. It's not going to be near as lopsided as it was last year. I have this as a close win. Where you at?
Gators win. Spencer Rattler, I get it. But guess what? He could not handle the pressure at Oklahoma. He will not be able to handle the pressure at South Carolina. Has he gotten better? It's debatable. Does he have some new weapons around him? Sure, I get it. But at the end of the day, he's going to fold. Like he might start off the season nice and strong, but guess what? By the time he gets to us at game number 7 of the season, he's not going to be as sharp. He's not going to be as strong. They're going to struggle. And just like what happened when he came to the Swamp last year, we pounced on him early. We need to pounce on him early at South Carolina.
I agree. Get in his head and make it happen. So from there, before our bye week, interestingly enough, which is not normally the case because usually we play Georgia after the bye week, but before,
Right.
Well, I say that. Maybe it is after the bye. I think it is after the bye. I don't have the bye listed on here, but it probably is because week 8 is the bye. But no, we've only played 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games before. Yeah, so it is the bye. So bye week, and then we go to UGA. Apologies on that. Or not go to UGA, but go to Jacksonville, of course, for the Georgia game. Obviously, Georgia still a ridiculous powerhouse, though I do not have them winning the national championship this year. And it's not just because I'm a Gator fan, for the record. But I am interested to see what do you got here? How you feeling about old Uga?
Yeah, so Kirby's got a lot of answering to do. Off-field issues, player personnel, this, that, and the other. It's fine.
Yeah, he does.
They don't have the juice. They don't have as much momentum coming into the season as they did. But when you look at overall mechanics, everything else that's there, this is a tough game for. And I have this as one of my coin tosses with Utah and another game we'll get to. But I have us at a loss at this one.
Wow, a coin toss. Interesting. I do not have it as a coin toss. I have it as one of possibly my only I have 2 definitive losses, and this is a definitive loss. I don't think it'll be quite as lopsided as it was last year. I believe we'll be a little more competitive because we'll play better defensively, but offensively, man, that defense is never not just exceptional. And they were young last year, and they got a lot of guys back, even though they still put a lot of guys in the league. They are going to be good again. So, yeah, I've got this one as a pretty definitive loss. I hope that we can keep it under double digits this year. I don't know that we can, for the record. Okay. But that's where I'm at with that one. So then we get back home and we get Arkansas back in. A lot of people are picking us to win this one pretty handily. Again, I'm not with that. I call this a close win. This is a coin flippy one to me, too. Arkansas is going to be better. They have been better. They're going to continue to get better. I think we still have enough juice to beat them, but it's going to be a tight game. What you got?
I have us winning this game. I don't. For me, it's not going to be as much of a coin flip because I feel like Arkansas was the flash and dash, right? They started off really flashy last year, got into the top 10, and all of a sudden the wheels fell off, right? Because they just couldn't sustain. I don't
Yep.
think Pittman, no disrespect to Pittman, he just is not that type of coach that can sustain that throughout the whole season, right? Can't get that out of his players on a regular basis. Not to mention their recruiting was sub. So on that basis, I have that one's not a coin flip for me. That one's going to be a win.
All right, fair enough. And then we go to Death Valley in a probable night game. Gross. And we play the Bayou Bengals. This is my other definitive loss on the schedule. Brian Kelly, at least for now, seems to have Napier's number, as I already mentioned. He called what might have been one of the best called games in taking advantage of our weaknesses last year. And we still gave him a run. I'll give you that, but it wasn't that much of a run. And I think that when we go to LSU, that's going to continue. What do you got?
I'm not going to disagree. It's going to be it's not a coin toss for me. It is going to be a loss. Death Valley at night, sticky, nasty. They're going to be smelling gumbo. They're going to be hungry over anything else. Not going to be good. It's going to be a loss.
Oops, sorry, still had it on mute. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm with you there. Definitely in lockstep on that one. Unfortunately, love it if we were able to pull something out there, but I don't see it. Then we go to Missouri and the old house of horrors that is playing Mizzou at Mizzou. Not a good track record for Florida in playing that game. As much as I would like to say that I think we're better, I can say I think we're better. But for whatever reason, it's just a tough place for us to play. I've got this as a coin flip, but a loss. I don't think we're going to get this one. I think the LSU hangover is going to be rough because I think that game is going to be hard, and I think it's not going to go real well. And I think we struggle coming off of that. So I got a close loss here. Where you at?
Wow, really?
Yep.
Interesting. So, listen, not going to disagree with you there. It is a tough place for us. We've struggled. It's been up, it's been down, but more down than up. But again, I think if we have any Gator fight and pride in us, if Napier is going to challenge these kids to rise above and be excellent, this is one of the places you redeem yourself. You redeem yourself at Kentucky, you redeem yourself at Vandy, and now you redeem yourself in Mizzou, right? They shouldn't be part of the SEC conference to begin with. They're in the freaking mountains up there. Whatever, it's fine. To me, this is going to be not a coin toss. This one's going to be a big win because we're going to go in there and, hey, Drinkwitz, guess what, buddy? You had your 15 minutes of fame. It's over now.
I love it. I hope you're right. I was back and forth on this game, and I really hope that you were right. But I felt like I just felt like there's another loss in there brewing. You know, there's always that one game that you're like, we weren't supposed to lose that game. And for the record, I don't think we're supposed to lose it. We should beat Missouri. Let me put that out there.
Yeah.
I just don't think we do. I think this is the one that gets sneaky on us, and we just don't execute the way that we should. Maybe some things are a little off with the scheme. We'll see. But yeah, Missouri also is very good. This is one thing I will say. They were very good against us last year at stopping the zone running scheme. They're very effective against zone running. They play very, very well against that defense. Their D coordinator is very good. I don't know his name, but he knows how to defend a zone blocking system from the O-line. They showed that last year against Georgia when they almost beat Georgia. And Georgia actually changed to a gap style running attack because in the middle of the game, because they were getting beat. So they have proven they can play really tough against a staple of our offense. And that's part of the reason why I have this one as the loss that I do. But having said that, last game back home, and those very obnoxious Seminoles. Where you at with the in-state rivalry here?
Gator Nation, forgive me, but I have this one as a loss. As much as I don't want to put it down, the Noles have themselves a bona fide quarterback for the first time in a while, and I think Travis is just going to do nothing but build off of last year's successes. And he's going to come out this year really really ready. They've got a great class. And as much as I hate to say this, forgive me, Gator Nation, this one's going to be a loss.
Ouch. Well, Gator Nation's going to like me better than you because I've got this one as a close win. This is definitely not going to be an easy game. I agree with you. Travis is definitely showing that he can be a real quarterback. However, when you live in his running, he is not the same playmaker. He's very much a Lamar Jackson in college, mind you, not in the pros, but in college, where if you can take the run away or at least limit it, he's going to struggle. And I think that's exactly what we're going to do. I think this is one where Armstrong schemes this bad boy up to a T and keeps him contained and does not let him run all over the friggin' field like he did last year against us. Man, was that infuriating.
Oh, boy.
And I think we pull this one out. It's close, but I think we pull it out. Norvell is showing that he is possibly the real deal. He's definitely recruiting well enough this year. Man, obnoxiously well. And I'm very, very concerned that in a couple of years, this is going to be a really, really hard game for us. Now, maybe we don't still play it in a couple of years, in fairness, because who knows what's going to go on with all this conference stuff. But having said that, I am very much not ready to say yet that the talent gap isn't still a little wider, which because it is, right? We still have the better composite here because they have not recruited well in a really long time. So even though this class is better, I don't think it's enough. So I got it as a close win. We'll see what happens. So that brings us to you being at 7-5 and me being at 8-4.
Wow.
Both seem maybe I won't call 7-5 optimistic. I think 7-5 is pretty realistic. There's probably a loss in here that I'm wrong on, whether it's Utah or Florida State. Those two bookends are going to be tough games, and I've got them both as wins, and they very well may not be. So I think 7-5 is probably the most realistic prediction, but I'm going with my picks. I'm going to side with it. I think we pull that game out of Utah, and it changes the direction of the season for us, and we're able to pull out an 8-4 season, which I think would pretty much shock the world. It's a little sad to say that would shock the world, but I think it would, especially with Vegas at that notable 5.5 over under. I still cannot believe that ridiculousness, but anyway. So that's where we're at for our season predictions. And with that, we have come to our close. So thank you for all the time. I know we went a little longer. Should have been noted that we normally try to keep this at 90 minutes or less. We did go a little over that tonight. Just had a lot that we wanted to get into and talk about, but we do our best to keep it short enough that you can, listen in a reasonable amount of time. Randy, any closing comments? Any thoughts on the season?
Can't wait, man. Can't wait. This is going to be so phenomenal to have Gator football back in the air again, to see the swamp lit up and loud, screaming and raring again. I want to see these boys play free, disciplined, and just play with the pride and understanding what it means to play football at the University of Florida. Yeah, that's it. Play with pride. And that's one thing you said earlier I think is going to be important this year. We never really gave up, right, in any game last fall. I want us to make sure that we continue that. Don't give up. Continue to fight, push, scratch, maybe pull a Tyson if you have to bite an ear, whatever. Just stay in these games, make something happen, be great. Just go be great.
I love it. I'm right there with you. I'm over the moon excited as well. Really excited to not only for the season, but to be doing this with you. Really enjoyed this so far and hope everybody listening enjoys it as well. We will be doing our next episode the Monday after the Utah game. So it is going to be 2 weeks until we do another one. But we wanted to get this season preview out a little in advance and hope everybody has enjoyed it. So to that note, wherever you are and whenever you may be listening, thanks so much for taking the time, and we'll see you around, Gator Nation. Have a great one.